Hey guys, it's the Budget Epicurean, and today I'm going to be making some falafel. So falafel is a vegetarian or vegan dish made from chickpeas. I like to think of it as a fluffy waffle, but it's neither of those things. They're usually little balls or patties, and they're super easy to make, especially if you have a food processor. Pretty much only if you have a food processor or blender. But they are great on their own. They're awesome in wraps. You can put them on salads. And there's a lot of ways to cook them. The most popular is frying, but of course that uses a lot of oil. It's not super great for you. So I'm going to be using my handy dandy air fryer that uses no oil, and it's still going to give us that nice crispy texture. So to make falafel, you're going to need some chickpeas, and you want to use the dried kind, not the kind from a can, because those will be too soft and it'll turn to total mush. You need to soak the dried chickpeas, preferably overnight, but for at least 4 to 8 hours to soften them up enough to blend them. If you use boiling water, that'll shorten the amount of time you need to soak them. So that's a good tip if you only have a couple hours. Then we've got some fresh basil leaves. You need 1/2 cup to 1 cup torn herbs. Whatever you got on hand or like works. Parsley is a great option. Cilantro works really well here too. We've got garlic, cloves, and 1 small onion. I've got a yellow onion, but you can use red as well. And then whatever other spices and seasonings you want included. Typically garlic, onion powder, salt, black pepper are used. So I've got my super favorite steak seasoning mix and some Italian seasonings, as well as some red pepper flakes just to spice it up a bit. So we're going to just drain off most of the water from these chickpeas that have been soaking. So these are not cooked. They just came straight from the bag, dried. I covered them with water, more than enough to cover them, and left them overnight in the refrigerator soaking. So now they're a little bit soft, like I can kind of smush them apart, but they're still pretty firm. So that's what you want to make your falafel. And we're just gonna pour those right into our food processor, along with our basil. Cut off the outer layer of our onion. Now, if you don't particularly like the flavor of onions, you can of course omit this step. It just gives a really nice flavor and crunch to it. Possibly celery could be a replacement texture-wise. And I'm just going to quarter this so that it can chop up in the food processor a little bit easier, not just one big chunk. And then we're gonna get the skin off the garlic. So really up to you how many cloves you want to use here. I love garlic, love the flavor of garlic. So I'm probably gonna use at least 2 or 3 cloves. You could probably use up to 6 cloves if you really wanna go crazy. This skin doesn't want to come off. That's 1, 2, oh, that's a nice big one, 3 cloves there. Just peeling off the outer skin part because it doesn't taste very good. It's kind of like paper. You don't really want to eat paper, do you? There we go. So there's 2. And 1 more nice big one. Sometimes if you smash the clove a little bit, it makes getting the skins off easier. There you go, see? And who cares that I broke the garlic? It's about to get smashed up anyways, right? So then maybe a teaspoon or 2, okay, tablespoon of Italian seasonings. And some steak seasoning. Don't want to go too heavy on that because the black pepper is pretty strong. So. And then red pepper to taste. I don't like them too terribly spicy, just enough to have a fun little kick. So just a couple shakes, good enough for me. If you don't like spicy foods, then obviously don't use peppers. All right, and that is it. So we're gonna pulse it a couple times to get it incorporated, and then we're gonna let it go. So you're going to want it to be a little bit chunky still. You don't want it to be a total paste. But you do want it to become smooth enough that it starts to kind of hold together and be able to be shaped. You can see that texture is looking pretty good there. I think I'll pulse it just a couple more times. If it's not sticking together very well, you can always throw in a couple tablespoons of flour or a little bit of lemon juice. That will help to hold things together more. All right. So now we've got our nice blended falafel mixture. So you see how there's still some chunks in there? That's why you cannot use canned chickpeas, because otherwise this becomes just total mush and there's no real texture to it. So then you're going to want to take your falafel mixture, and this is a nice amount of wetness so I know that it'll stick together and I don't need to add anything else to hold it. And I'm just going to form it into little meatball-like shapes. If you have an ice cream scoop, this is a good time to use it. And I've lined my air fryer with just a piece of brown paper bag so that little clumps of food don't fall down in there and burn over time. So if you are using an air fryer, I would highly recommend a little piece of paper or aluminum foil, something to keep it from getting super messy. Unless you love cleaning appliances, in which case, God bless you. And you want to come over? I've got a job for you. Okay, here we go. We've got all our falafels in there. Ooh, and that onion is brutal. And I get a little emotional about falafel. So, just gonna wipe off enough so that I can touch things again. Put that right into our air fryer. Okay, we go temperature. You're gonna want 375 for 15 minutes and go. That's it. Our air fryer is wonderful. So now we wait 15 minutes and I will check them. If they're super crispy already on both sides, we're done. If they're a little soft on the underside, then I'll flip them and put them in for 5 more minutes. All right, so there we have our beautiful falafel balls. They are nice and brown on top, but they're still a little bit soft. I can just feel texture-wise. They need a couple more minutes. So I'm gonna try to lift them off the paper and just flip them a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So that we can crisp up the undersides too. See how that's still kind of wet and not at all browned looking. So we're just gonna flip these and put them in for just another 5 minutes. And if you don't want them to be balls, you can also make them into patties. They just take up more space in the air fryer that way. Also, if you don't have an air fryer, you can bake these in the oven exactly the same way. Just put them on a pan with some oil or a silicone mat or some parchment paper / aluminum foil so that they don't stick, and bake them in the regular oven. They just might take a little bit more than 15 minutes because the air fryer also uses convection, which means it takes the hot air and kind of blows it all around. So it's a little bit more efficient way of heating. And that's why you can cook things much faster in the air fryer versus the oven. This one's kind of super wet still. Okay, so there we go. We got them flipped right back in. Same temp. 5 minutes and go. All right, so we let our falafel go for another 5 minutes after I flipped it, and now it is looking nice and brown and crispy and wonderful. So that's what we're looking for. I'm gonna put it on top of this beautiful little salad right here. Another great option is to wrap it up in a little pita with some hummus and little vegetables that you like scattered in. So there you go. Homemade falafel, super easy, super healthy, super delicious. Hope you give it a try.